quite some time have believed in collaborative learning and in active learning processes, and in going out in the field. And so my students and I in my Shakespeare class regularly go to see shows at the Old Globe. I've also been involved in a project with the Mingay Museum. My students and I went and led book club events that were linked to exhibitions that were going on at the Mingay in Balboa Park. And this work out in the field became a little bit more formalized in 2013 in the fall, when I, with a colleague, launched the Shakespeare and Company Drama Lab at San Diego State University, in which we formed more formal alliances with theaters in San Diego. One of them was the Signet Theater, and here's an image of students and I attending a production of A Christmas Carol, and we led a discussion with the audience afterwards. We've been studying Dickens in the historical and cultural context of the Victorian era, so they were serving sort of as student ambassadors, informal student ambassadors, having discussions with the cast and crew and people who had seen the show. And also, as a part of the Shakespeare and Company Drama Lab, we were able to create some internships. So students went out into high school classrooms preparing students to come see shows at the Signet Theater. And then after students had seen these shows, they attended post-show class sessions as well to recap. And with the San Diego Junior Theater, a couple of students started working on creating program notes for the theater and school study guides, because teachers bringing their students in to see these shows need to prepare the students. And this study guide that you see that was created here helped teachers in that way. So at a certain point, I decided to integrate with this work a digital component, digital archiving of the work that we were being done. I had played around with digital humanities previously, creating websites in class. So I had my guinea pigs available to me. And I created, as part of the Shakespeare and Company Drama Lab, a course called From Page to Stage. And Ivan and Lupe were in that class. And so we're going to tell you a little bit about that. And then I'm going to go on to talk about how I integrated some of what we did there in another class, Shakespeare Comes Alive, which Kayla was a participant in. So let me just show you this 3-minute video here, which you'll get to see some of the Learning Research Studio that Linnea was talking about, and some of the guests that came to this class. So the goal of this class was to we were studying dramatic literature, but specifically plays that were being performed in San Diego, and then going to see them. We were learning about the theaters, and then the students were creating program notes for future productions at these theaters. Some were larger theaters, some were smaller, and these school study guides. So the same work that these students had done previously as interns was now becoming part of coursework. And this was made available online on a WordPress site, so that it's a kind of portfolio for them, and but also available to the community in general, available to the theaters to make use of. So this is a film that Instructional Technology Services at ITS made. The course I designed is called From Page to Stage. It's about what's on the page, but it's also about how it comes alive in performance.
This is kind of a different approach to theater than what I'm used to.
In this class, they're working together throughout the semester to create program notes and school study guides that can be used for actual productions forthcoming at theaters around San Diego. At a couple of performances that we're attending, the students are going to be leading post-show discussions with audience members, cast and crew. One thing that's nice about the Front Page and Stage class is that students are actually interacting with professionals.
Have speakers coming in to talk to us, and the hope again is that our project will actually be used by a theater. So for me especially, that's a really big deal because I'm hopefully making professional contacts that I can use when I graduate and I'm looking for jobs and show them, oh, look at this work that I've done. So I guess that's for me like a special part.
We're fortunate to have an alliance forming with the Old Grove Theater, according to which Barry Edelstein is visiting our class to talk about his production of 27th Man, which we're seeing here today, my students and I.
The theater is a place where you don't really show up if you don't like collaboration. You know, it's not a place to go if you don't believe in collaboration, because nothing happens in the theater without a massive group effort.
I'm really enjoying how collaborative we can be with the various technology that we have.
We're very fortunate to be able to use the Learning Research Studio at Instructional Technology Services on campus. It's quite wonderful for students to work on groups around the pods that are there, creatively putting together these WordPress sites that they are doing in groups, and then to be able to see them on the monitors up above their tables. The goal that I have as an instructor is to make sure that everyone is included in the learning process and is successful. And what that means is different styles of teaching and different styles of learning. So there are multiple ways that I try and engage students and multiple ways that I assess students. It's experimental, and this is all very new and different for them. It's not a traditional classroom situation. So there's a little plug for those learning spaces. Yeah, this is what the homepage for this English 544 class from Page to Stage looked like. And now I just want to escape out of this so that I can show you a little bit more. I've been having trouble, yes, like many have been on the with the internet here today. But yeah, each group had their own individual page. So this is group number 1, which was focused on a play called Off the Rails, being done by a theater group, Native Voices. And you can see if I hover over their page here, there's a section on Common Core standards. So they were required to integrate Common Core standards, demonstrate to teachers how this work would be integrated into their own, focus on this play would be integrated into their own curriculum. There was another student working on the history of this tribe that's involved in the play. Another group with glossary of terms, playwright's background, and so on. But Lupe and Ivan, why don't you talk about your group's project, which I can't go to. We're locked in here.
So we were group 4, and we did a production on Rent, which had been staged at the On-Stage Playhouse before, but they said they were thinking about bringing it back at some point. So we got the chance to visit the theater, talk to some of the people there. They gave us a tour of the theater, and they were really interested in us doing program notes and including Common Core standards and all that, because it's a really small theater, so it's easy for some schools to go to shows. They have pay what you can nights, and they told us all about that. And
we try to incorporate that in our group project, and we actually, I think we did put some of the information that the theater gave us and we try to make it available, so it kind of built a bridge between the community and us, and I don't know.
Definitely. And it was also interesting to be able to look over like Common Core standards and all that, since we're both planning on being high school teachers. It was definitely something that if somebody, a student from the university came to me as a high school teacher or something and told me like, hey, we have this website where we have information on certain plays, we have a study guide for your students, all you have to do is take them to the play and here's all the information you gotta give them, it'd be really interesting for me as a teacher to receive that.
Yeah.
That's something you can totally do with, we used WordPress. And the classroom really allowed us to collaborate as a group. All the screens, we could share them between the whole class at the same time, so everybody was able to see what was going on.
It made it easier. We took, I believe there was time where we took our laptops, our USBs, we plugged it in, and it was easy for us to kind of have that relationship within the group to put it out there and show it to the class. And
Nobody's fighting for the keyboard.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was nice that it had the course had this community outreach component and a pre-professional component, opening up English majors and single subject majors' eyes to various career opportunities, that there are positions in which they could potentially be hired with museum, education and outreach offices or theaters and so forth. So then I decided to try and incorporate some of this into my Shakespeare class. Shakespeare Comes Alive. And I have an image from last spring when Kayla was in the course. And what we're locked into here is the page for her, her particular group, which I can scroll down on here.
Yeah.
So, what would you like to tell us?
So if you can continue to scroll down, what my play did here, we really we took Cymbeline, which is not a very well-known play of Shakespeare, and what we decided to do was make it a political play that we were all, it was about lesbians during the AIDS epidemic. And so we were able to kind of turn the characters into that, and kind of like have family dynamics and go through like that kind of stuff. And we created, with the help of Jackie, of course, we created a zine. And so these are some of the pictures that we took that we put in the zine while we were rehearsing. We wanted to incorporate that into the digital. And it was really interesting because, I had been acting a lot, but this was the first time where I ever, did the digital with the acting, and there was other stuff very similar to different roles, how you saw in the previous stuff that Dr. Frampton was talking about, and so we had to do like historical background stuff, and it was really interesting just to have like the online part of it, aspect of it, to understand what Shakespeare wrote about during the time when Cymbeline, came into play, and what plays were contrasted to it. It gave us a better idea of, how to make our play political, but still kind of keeping the message of what Shakespeare was trying to do when he created this play himself. So yeah, it definitely opened some doors, and as far as like creative aspects, I am now using WordPress myself for that, so I'm able to like have a better understanding of how the digital can play into what we would normally use. And I think it's really interesting that it's for Shakespeare, because Shakespeare's made his plays to be rehearsed, and in this digital era, we're able to make his plays come alive even further. So I think that's really interesting, and I think if he could see like what we're doing with it now, he would be very impressed.
And each group also had to memorize and stage scenes from the play that they were studying. So each website has uploaded to it their performance, which you can view online. So that's the kind of stuff we've been working on. Thank you all.